afternoon, everyone. And you forgot to mention one word, Sotiris, when it comes about sustainability. It's also about money. And we have here in this panel representatives of key managers and leaders managing a lot of money. I will take you through a short journey of impact investing. The aim of this panel is to discuss about investing with purpose and managing the bridge between profits and purpose. And we will explore how financial success intersects with social good. We will also explore how the balance sheets of financial institutions will show the stories of empowerment, of financial inclusion, and also of sustainability. We have here, as I mentioned, a representative of key financial institutions. But before discussing with them these matters, I would like to share with you some of the statistics which have already been, I would say, already familiar to a certain extent to you, because it looks like we all looked at the same sources of data when we were preparing for this special topic. Where we stand in terms of CO2 emissions, Romania is still below, which is a good news, it's below European Union averages, and it's significantly below United States. This is about emissions of CO2 per capita, and this shows a good picture of Romania. At the same time, still we know, maybe you heard as well, increased risk of the desertification, which is present in the southeast of Europe and as well in the south of our country. Another interesting statistic is about the social element. There are about 34% of the Romanian population which is at the risk of poverty. This being much higher than the European Union average. This also being due mainly to an equal opportunity of access to basic services like healthcare, like education, like financial services, and also being prolonged because of intergenerational transmission. We see that these environmental risks and social risks have been addressed or have a solution which has been present in our economies for more than 100 years, which is the impact investing, a concept which was raised by Rockefeller, and it is about mixing economic purpose and economic goals with environmental and social ones, the three P's which previous speakers already mentioned. We have well, where is the world of impact investing standing now? I have prepared some statistics which I will gladly debate also with our panel members. First of all, the total assets under management by reference to ESG or impact investing, they represent less than 15% of total assets under management, but still report at least 75% of these investors, they report higher, at least the same or higher profits than the ones which are not having an impact investing strategy. When it comes to another element in the financial world, the global bonds, the green bonds trends are on an increasing trend, but they still represent a very small share in the total bonds issuance. And when we look at the balance sheets of banks, at least at the statistics coming from the European Banking Association, we see that the total share of green assets, of green loans in the portfolio of banks are 4%, which is a very, very small percentage, being driven again by the context of our world, by where we stand when it comes to technology, investments, and the question is, okay, what is driving these trends and the current positioning when it comes to impact investing? So I will address this question to to the panel members. I would like to start with Mr. Cristian Nacu, who is actually leading the local office of, I would say, the world's largest development bank.
We are the largest development financial institution for private sector in the world. So this is the right, thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here. Again, I feel like I'm in family because I've been so long a member of this group, and I like so much the group, and the events are always top quality. So yes, indeed, for us, financing with a purpose was always the reason to exist, because we were created as a developmental institution. So for us, just having a deal which makes sense economically, it's not enough. Our board members are challenging every investment that we do and asking to see what's the developmental role of these deals. Last years have been fantastic for us, and this is because we were able to brand most of our products green, sustainable, and this is, as you said, because the needs are huge. Just one small correction, if I'm not mistaken, 2%, the total green assets in the banking sector are, I think, 2% for enterprises and 2% or similar amount for housing, green housing. So if you look at the businesses, it's even worse. So what we did in the last years, we tried to create products together with the financial institutions mainly, and Sergio is one of our best clients, to create instruments which will help them at their turn to invest in the green assets. We have done fantastic years. Last year, 550 almost $1 million invested in Romania. This year probably will be somewhere around 600. Plus, this year in particular, we managed also to mobilize a huge amount, $1.6 billion in projects where IFC invested and played a role. So all this because investing with purpose is needed. The country still has huge targets for decarbonization. Reaching the net zero by 2050 will require an investment of $350 billion in Romania, out of which 300 billion will be only, for the next 7 years, will be only in infrastructure. That means more than 3.5% of the GDP accumulated, and only 1/3 will be probably coming from the state. The rest will have to come from the private sector.
Indeed, moving from the public money to the commercial perspective, Sergio, I would like to ask you to share a few of the information. Where is BCR standing in terms of this trend?
Yeah, well, thank you very much for having me, and hopefully for being patient with me in the next couple of minutes. I think we are in a very good and easy position because we are owned by a startup which was created 205 years ago with the sole purpose of leaving no man behind or no human being behind, somewhere in the 2nd district in a parish of Vienna. So as this purpose evolved in creating prosperity for the countries and the people we are working for, we are, as I said, in an easy position. Now, how does this easy position transfers into, it's all about the entire chain of sustainability, right? We are one of the few financial institutions who very, very early joined the Net Zero Alliance. We are one of the very first, actually, financial institutions who actually made a very solid pledge on the SDGs. That's about, you know, making a commitment. That's about actually creating the canvas. In terms of what we are doing, well, I think it depends. We need to define, in fact, the places where we are trying to, you know, to create impact, and not only to create impact by ourselves, but create communities of impact. Of course, I mean, the easiest would be to talk about green, right? You know, we put 400 million euros a year in the economy on green projects. We are actually leading the capital markets in terms of issuance. So in the last 5 years, we issued in the local market around about 8.8 billion RON, a little bit more than half green bonds. Last year, we were issuing actually the largest green bond ever issued by a Romanian financial institution as a premier, 700 million euros equivalent. But the most important thing was actually the size of the book. The book was north of 2 billion at a time when the markets were still troubled by what the large central banks were doing. So that shows that there is interest, but most important, that shows that there is confidence actually in what's happening in our country in terms of actually climate care, let's call it like this. I would actually not give the mic away without talking about what we are doing on the social side. Because I think, and that's the reason for I brought this small brochure from our stand. It's a small book for a significantly higher freedom of choice. This is what is written on this. This is how we do business. And I believe that this is what should define the way all businesses will evolve. That we are taking within our business model our conviction for a better society, our conviction for a better environment. What do I mean by that? We are known for having our money school, Școala de Bani. We have basically north of 1 million people going through, actually 1.3, 1.4 million people who went through a financial education, financial literacy program, or through a financial dialogue with my colleagues. And still the scale is not where it should be. We are talking about actually building together with Erste Foundation, the BCR Social Finance in 2018, and building a cell of social finance within the bank in 2016. Now, the money we are turning there is not big, right? It's 100 million euros, round about 10, 20 million euros for NGOs. But these are lending products which otherwise will just not be done by the bank for reasons which are related rather to regulations, and are actually entities which are creating 24,000 jobs a year. We in BCR, we are contributing to probably on a yearly basis to 500 to 600,000 jobs per year with the financing we are doing. 5-7% of that is done by our social wings, let's call it like this. I think that this is what, in my opinion, needs to help, in fact, all of us to move, if you like, sustainability from social responsibility into affecting the core of our business models. And I stop here for now.
Thank you, Sergiu. Moving to Andrei. Moving to Andrei. Kindly asking you to speak about Morphosis Capital investment strategy and also the investor expectations, since you have gone through fundraising process 6 years ago. You have been going on through this fundraising process in the last 18 months. and also kindly asking you also to share some of the sustainability trends at your portfolio companies level.
Okay. Let me talk a little bit about the industry because I feel we are too small and insignificant to make it worthwhile to talk too much about us. But I would say the simple fact that as a private equity professional invited to a panel about investing with purpose shows that there is hope. Because historically our industry, the private equity industry, was classified as the barbarians at the gate. And coming from the barbarians at the gate to being here and in other forums talking about investing with purpose, I would say that we're definitely, the industry is moving in the right direction. Now, if we go back to some of the numbers that you showed, Daniela, at the beginning, I think, again, something that should give us all hope is the fact that while impact investing is only about 1 to 2% of the assets under management at an European level, sustainable investing, or ESG investing, accounts today for about 17% at an European level and is forecasted to get to about 30%, close to 30% in the next 5 years or so. So I feel that our industry is moving definitely in the right direction. Now, if I look at what we do at Morphosis Capital, we are now investing from our second fund. So if I look at our first fund and our second fund, we've been on this journey of sustainable investing. We are today what gets classified as a Article 6 fund, meaning that we are aware of the ESG agenda, but we have still work to do to put it at the heart of our business. I think what's really getting us going and getting us energized is to not think of it as a reporting duty to our institutional LPs, and I point to Christy over here, but to really realize and be driven by the human impact we are making. Because as I tell my own team and the CEOs of our portfolio companies, when we think about the fact that through our portfolio companies we can take dental services to underprivileged communities where people have never seen a dentist in their entire life, that we can offer access to high-quality MRI diagnostics in not only underprivileged, but you'd be surprised that there are still sort of second-tier towns in Romania that don't really have access to good quality radiology, or whether the fact that we provide access to fitness services to youth and not only across various towns and cities in Romania. I think these things are purposeful, these things are motivating, and these things fall under a banner that we define doing well by doing good, doing the right thing, and obviously, because at the end of the day, we are financial investors, we expect to get a good return and a profit out of the operations we run.
Thank you for your answers. We have in the room CEOs coming from various companies operating in industries, in services, in consumer, in businesses. I would like to ask you to let them hear who is actually driving the trends that you have mentioned about your business and impact trends. Because I would also like to share with you another interesting statistics by a McKinsey study about the net worth, since Mr. Cristian Mureșan was talking about the GDP and debt to GDP. I think it's worthwhile when we talk about sustainable investments to look at the net worth at global level and how is this actually supported by existing assets. And we are talking about real estate assets, equipment, or even intangible assets. All this environment, especially environmental related trends, are linked with the pace of changing and updating our technologies, our production means, and eventually changing the business models and the production models. The question to my panel members would be, what is driving, what is in the driving seats of the sustainable finance products they have been giving us example of? Is it the financial investor? Is the investor behind? They as having, let's say, the magic stick who is deciding and driving the money? Or is it also coming from the beneficiary clients or customers? I'd like to start with Cristi.
Well, I think the answer is easy. It's from both sides, because there is a new generation of customers who are very concerned about planet, about saving, about being sustainable, and I'm talking obviously about Gen Z and all the other generations which are coming after them, because they blame us that we ruined the planet. So they need to act at least better than we did. But I think it's a general trend. I think everybody started to realize that we need to do some things. I remember when I was in IFC 20 years ago as an investment officer, and I was discussing with the client about a potential transaction, about a loan or other instrument. At the end, almost ashamed, I was saying, but you know, we have something which is called ESG. I'm very sorry, but we'll have to comply with that as well. And this was always a burden for convincing a new client. Now things have changed significantly. It's almost the first thing that we are saying. We are the ones which created the standards for ESG, so we can teach you, we can help you to be compliant. We can do a technical audit of your business, of your factory, to see what you need to do in order to become ESG compliant, and so on and so forth. So these things have changed. Also, the investors have started to put a lot of pressure. There are the green bonds, which are sometimes better than a regular bond. They are more desired by the investors. They have a better subscription rate. Sometimes they are better priced. So these things are also coming from the other side, from the investors and their clients. And just to show you how it works, IFC opened the market for green bonds. 2010, 15 years ago, we issued the first green bonds. And since then, we have done more than $10 billion in green bonds, IFC green bonds. So we were taking money from the market because we were AAA and we were getting it relatively cheap. And then we were investing again in green bonds or in green assets. And we were giving, for example, to banks, and the banks will have to invest them at their turn in green assets as well, because one of the conditions for a green bond to be recognized as a green is to use the money for green investments. So this is creating a snowball effect, which eventually reaches also the smaller clients.
Thank you. Sergio, how is sustainable finance in BCR?
Yeah, well, I think...
What is driving your strategies?
As I mentioned a little bit earlier, and sorry, I don't want to sound cocky, but actually it's our belief. It's our belief in our purpose, and our purpose is prosperity. And actually, prosperity is not only material. If we look into prosperity research, we will see that basically climate, inclusion, transparency, respect for institutions, the very existence of happy people actually drives prosperity. So it is our belief who drives it. Now, if we move, and actually proof to that is, as I said, the fact that we starting following the SDGs very, very early, and we created entities who are able to do that. Now, definitely regulation helps up to a certain point. So we see our role actually as both creators of supply and demand of green financing. We see our role as creators and consumers of content in terms of social inclusion vectors. And we see our role as, if you like, both advisors as well as pupils of good governance and actually change which this country needs. And that means that the way we are building the business drives in that direction. I think the potential is huge, and we are just at the beginning in terms of looking at how the capital markets are going to become sustainable. So how our loan books are going to actually get green. But I know that we are talking about objectives per se, but I will not make that parallel because we are too many in the room. I think we should stop targeting certain KPIs, and we should try to reverse engineer in KPIs in how, in fact, our businesses need to change. Because the pressure, which Christy was mentioning a little bit earlier, without using the word pressure, is huge down the value chain. So the last integrator who is on the spotlight is obliged to basically send down to the bottom of the traceable part of the value chain the requirements for green, for sustainable, even for good governance. I mean, how many of you as entrepreneurs did not, in fact, experience social audits from the upper side of the supply chain, if you like, in the last 20 years? Not in the last 2 years, 3 years, 4 years. We are talking green a lot in the last 5 years. But how many of you were not employing already circular economy methods and technologies in order, if not for anything, to actually minimize the technological losses, for example, or to, why not defend the communities you are part of, or the water in the communities you are part of? So I think this exists already. I think we have a number of problems, which probably we will discuss in a bit, especially in terms of data availability and level play field. So we can all talk about the same thing, it's common language. But I believe that the pressure, the positive pressure comes from everywhere, and actually also comes from our own responsibility, as Christy mentioned, to remind ourselves that we don't have a planet B.
Thank you. Andrei,
Listen,
how is the world of private equity?
I'll keep this short. Listen, to take a language we understand really well in private equity, there is solid evidence that shows that a business with ESG embedded at the heart of it commands a valuation premium compared to a business with a similar set of financial metrics that does not have ESG embedded at the heart of it. So I think the narrative, indeed, as the other panelists have said, has to be less about who drives it. I think we all need to drive it. I think it doesn't only make business sense, but it's an absolute responsibility. And I think in a room as powerful as the one we have today, we really need to kind of rally ourselves and make it happen.
Since time is flying, I would just like to briefly ask you each of the panel members at the end to share a few ideas on how they are measuring into their business impact investing, because eventually, as I mentioned, they are the providers of finance. So it's important for stakeholders here in the room who may eventually be the ones benefiting from finances. What KPIs and what data is, at which KPIs and data are the providers of finance looking at? Christy?
Yeah, well, we have our own KPIs. For example, on inclusion, we have set a KPI that at least 50% of our board members, independent board members, will be women by the end of next year. We are already at 60%, so we passed that. But we have also for each project, we are calculating the developmental impact of each project. And we have very strict rules, calculations, teams which are measuring that. Then all the project officers during the implementation of a project, they have to report on that. And they have to ask the clients to report and to give them the information needed in order to feed the system so that they can calculate the impact every year, every quarter, I think. So these things cannot be neglected because they are part of what makes a green instrument green, for example. You have to not only keep the money separate, not only invest them in with the purpose that what they were raised, but also report at the end with based on the criteria that you have set at the beginning. So these are the conditions that you have to meet in order to qualify. Because next time, nobody will believe you. The market will penalize you if you don't do that. So I think these things, they come hand in hand, and they are based on expertise.
So you just heard what we are going through. As Christy said, we are one of their clients, and yes, they are investing into us, which I think is great because it gives us method. Now, if we are looking very quickly at the impact, obviously there are two elements which need to be taken into consideration. Now, it should be done with intent, so intentionality. So basically, that respective investment should be done with the intent of creating impact and additionality. The very exercise of making that investment will produce an outcome which otherwise would not exist. So we said that if we are asking this from the people we are financing in the social area, we should apply it to us as well. Therefore, we do have KPIs beyond the Net Zero Alliance, tactical KPIs, which are meant to take us into the direction we want to. So we look at green investment and green asset ratios, which are two separate indicators. And in the same time, for the green side, we are looking at the number of projects which we are able to actually move in order to create circularity. And subsequent to that, from circularity to social, it's only one small little step. We are looking on how we can create inclusion. You've seen that Romania is basically the country with the highest risk of poverty in Romania. That number is equal, in fact, to financial illiteracy in our country, and it's a little bit smaller than functional illiteracy in Romania, which is quite a wonder. It's a miracle, but nevertheless, it works. Therefore, if we look into our strategy for 2026, we are quantifying the intervention we are trying to have into the financial health, actually, of Romanian people by saying, by 2026, we would like to have 1.5 million financial dialogues a year, and 500,000 people should go through our education platform, which is Money School, Digital Trust, and obviously ESG, so sustainability education. So we are working and we are deploying assets, physical and digital assets, in order to reach those goals. So more granular than this, I cannot be.
Thank you, Sergio. Andrei?
Well, listen, since we've got the blipping red in front of us, I'll
2 more minutes at the end.
It's like a Christmas tree.
Yeah, indeed. I'll use the final few seconds just maybe to remind us all of the dangers of greenwashing and the importance of walking the talk in this area. Certainly in the private equity business, when you are dealing with institutional capital, with the likes of IFC, EIF, EBRD, there's no space for greenwashing. Our journey as a private equity firm, as we move from an Article 6 towards an Article 8 private equity firm, by the way, this still does not mean impact investing, just means that we have an ESG strategy at the heart of what we do. I think we are expected to take tangible steps, measurable steps, and really do the right thing. And I think I would maybe finish from my side, inviting us all to make a clear distinction between the reporting needs. Indeed, somebody was talking about page X in the annual report, and to kind of try to move that in a very real and purposeful way, away from any form of greenwashing, into the heart of what we do in the business.
Thank you, dear members of the panel. Indeed, addressing now to the members here at the forum, I would ask Sotiris to allow me 2 more minutes to finish this panel. And to finish it with a call to action after seeing and hearing both public institutions and public money and private money, as well as a lot of managerial expertise and capabilities being willing, interested, and actually really motivated to support impact investing. I would like also to make sure that these messages are also translated into your business decisions in the following days or in the following years. So I will end with a very short video, which is aligned with what our panel members highlighted today and my earlier message. The message is from the Director of Equity Investments of VIF.
Funding on what products we buy, on what way of consuming we pursue, on the way how we select asset managers that invest our money. What incentive would there be for companies and financial institutions to change their game? And as impact investment community, how about moving out of our own zone of comfort and engineering financial instruments that make the preservation of natural resources or climate protection or sustainable agriculture truly investable, rather than waiting for this impact investment opportunity that will never arrive? If we make this move collectively, we don't have to wait for the regulators and governments to change the world for us. We would lead the game. Imagine us in 17 years at a TEDx event. It could be each of you standing on this stage and telling the story of us having turned around the seemingly unavoidable. Our society turned to one that lives on regenerative economic cycles. It could be each of you, or it could be a TEDx event in 2040 in an empty room. The first scenario is tough. You may have to change every perspective of anything you have taken for granted in life. For the second scenario, all you have to do is sit and wait. The choice is ours. The choice is yours. Demanding